President Cyril has left many in the white Afrikaner community stunned and bewildered. Addressing the National Day of Reconciliation conference in Bloemfontein over the weekend, the president gave what has been described as his most blunt speech yet on the topics of land reform, economic change, and racial equality. Addressing a sea of thousands and televised live to millions, Ramaphosa minced no words. "We stand on the threshold of a new era," he declared. "The days for half measures are behind us. The country, the riches, and the promise of this land must speak to the people who inhabit it. For generations, South Africa has been rigged for the benefit of a privileged few. That must come to an end during our generation." The president's words caused instant waves in political, business, and social spheres. But it was his particular comments on the ownership of land and the historical place of white Afrikaners in South Africa's economic order that set a firestorm going. "Land reform is not a threat, it is justice," Ramaphosa went on. "We can no longer afford a situation where 8% of the population holds over 70% of the land. Redistribution must occur. It will occur, and it will be accomplished not out of vengeance but out of purpose." Within minutes, social media sites erupted with responses from influential Afrikaner voices, political pundits, and members of the general public. Most Afrikaner community leaders were shocked and dismayed, labeling the tone of the president as confrontational and divisive. Ernst Rights, a leading figure from civil rights organization AFRIM, termed the president's words extremely worrying and cautioned of a backlash. "We cannot construct a future by demonizing the past," he said in a statement. "If the president is serious about reconciliation, then he must talk to all communities, not issue economic war against one." Numerous Afrikaner families, particularly those who remain invested in commercial farming, have indicated fear that the declaration marks the start of speeded-up land redistribution, possibly without compensation, a contentious policy which has overshadowed political rhetoric for so long. "I feel like we've just been told that all that our grandparents have worked for is now on the table," said Peter Van Wyk, a Free State fourth-generation farmer. "There's no sense of dialogue, only declarations. It's scary." While some were surprised by the tone and content of the speech, others think Ramaphosa's statement is part of a strategized attempt to reaffirm his leadership and appeal to the economically disadvantaged majority before the 2026 general elections. "This was not a policy speech. It was a political clap of thunder," said Dr. Tioy, a political scientist from the University of Johannesburg. Ramaphosa has been criticized for being too timid, too diplomatic, but this speech marks a new stance, bold, assertive, and unapologetically transformative. She continued, "He's attempting to remind South Africans who he is, not merely a corporate sympathetic technocrat, but a figure of liberation ready to complete what Mandela and others started." Business leaders and economists, however, have warned about what they describe as the uncertain consequences of the president's words. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange dipped slightly the next day, with investors showing concern over potential regulatory uncertainty and property rights. "There is no doubt that South Africa needs to deal with inequality," said investment analyst Jock Theron. "But grand political rhetoric without firm legal frameworks will only create instability and capital flight. We require reform, but we require confidence." President loyalists though appreciated the speech as a belated recognition of frustrations by millions of South Africans who still have no land, no job, and continue to languish in poverty traps. "Rio finally expressed the truth out loud," commented community activist Lorato Miko in Soto. "For far too long, we've had leaders who dance around economic justice. He spoke for us all that this nation still belongs to a select few, and that has got to change." The ANC, the governing African National Congress, released a statement endorsing the president as divisionary and necessary.